it's time a show to fly by. Don't forget to take a moment, take a look up in the sky. Think about the blessings, all the blessings that you got. It's a great day to be alive.
Welcome to Faith in Sports. Hello, I'm your host, Rick Bowles. My co-host is James Carnell.
Hello.
Faith in Sports will be highlighting coaches, student athletes, and all things SAGU athletics. And in case you don't know, SAGU is a Christian university located in the heart of Waxahachie. We are happy for one of our own alumni sponsoring this endeavor. VCR Now is a technology organization that can fulfill all your LED, audio, video, lighting needs, whether at a sports stadium, arena, house of worship, or business. Well, Mr. Carnell, since NFL football is over and it's almost time for college basketball tournament to begin, XFL football is back and is on TV starting this weekend. MLB spring training has, I think, started or about to start, just about to start. And Tiger Woods, your favorite, Carnell, is playing the first real golf tournament in several years. So of these, what gets you most excited?
If you know me, you know.
Hey, I know, but I want our audience to know.
You want your audience to know. Well, of course, you know, I am a huge St. Louis Cardinals baseball fan.
Excuse me, I almost
Did you know
spit.
that? Did you know that?
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that or not.
Yeah.
So, you know, pitchers and catchers reported this week. So it technically is underway, but we really don't say officially it started until Monday, that's when everybody full squad workouts begin for all of the MLB players. And so it's an exciting time of year, man. The boys of summer
So you like
are back.
baseball better than golf? I mean, I know you like to play golf,
I love to play golf.
but watching it.
No, just unless I'm taking a Sunday afternoon nap. Because I just look at these guys and I'm like, they just make it look so easy. And if I could just go out and play golf all day long, I would probably be.
Yeah.
No, I
Just
wouldn't be better.
Just a quarter of
I wouldn't be better. I don't want to say that. No, I'm
I
a
played
hacker.
golf with you, so I know how you hit the ball into the pond.
Oh, I'm a hacker.
Yeah.
That's no lie. That's for sure. No, baseball's my favorite, but I do watch golf, and I love the whole debate right now between the PGA and the LIV. It's just I love that. That's pretty cool.
It seems like Roy McIlroy has become the spokesman for the PGA.
Mm-hmm.
Every time a tournament starts, they're asking him about it, and he's got
Yeah.
all these ideas, which is fine.
And Mickelson and I know Tiger's loving slamming him a little bit. It's kind of fun.
Did you watch the last week's tournament at all in Phoenix?
No, I've watched some of the highlights.
So, you know, that's the tournament, for those of you that aren't into golf, where it's okay to yell and scream at the golfers while they're swinging and they're throwing stuff. And if in one particular hole 16, I mean, it's a stadium. I mean, I think they said there were 500,000 people on one day at that tournament.
Wow.
And if you hit a hole-in-one, obviously they go crazy. They're throwing stuff. If you get really close, they kind of get excited, but they're yelling and screaming. Well, they were interviewing one of the guys. So CBS is trying to do something different. They're actually getting the golfers out on the course talking to them, which is unusual.
Yeah.
And they ask, what do you think about the attitude, the atmosphere? And they're like, if every tournament would be like this, I think we would love it. So I thought, well, who knows? They may change, because it seems weird to me. I'm really a good golfer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And nothing bothers me. So I don't know why.
He's my boss.
I don't know why. These golfers are afraid of a bird chirping. It's like, come on.
Oh, well,
get real.
but here's the thing. And Tiger, I think, said this the other day, because you said he's my favorite golfer. So I was reading a quote from him, and he said, he goes, they don't want me talking back to the people in the
Right.
audience. He said, because I'm pretty blunt, and people don't know how to take me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can imagine that's probably not the best scenario for some of them.
That is true. Well, it'll be interesting. It's a fun time. Springtime is fun, and our guest will introduce him in a minute. He doesn't care what the weather's like in what he does. But
indoors, baby.
We've got several outdoor, speaking of, games coming up this week, but they are all away. But kind of tell us what's happening with SAGU sports.
Well, baseball, let's start right there, man. One of my favorite sports. We'll be in Austin tomorrow night going against Houston Tillotson University, and then Friday and Saturday in Conway, Arkansas, against Central Baptist College. Softball will be in Dallas on Wednesday going against Dallas Christian College in a doubleheader, and that's going to start at 12 noon. Also, you can purchase tickets online for all these games. That's at sagu.edu. SAGU.edu/sports tickets. That's SAGU.edu/sports tickets.
And want to plug sports, or not sports, but SAGULions.com. If you want to know anything about SAGU sports, it's a great place to check it out, and a lot of information there. Well, let's jump right in here. Our special guest this week is coach or manager, I'm not sure what term y'all use, is Zachary Wilkey. And Zach, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. Most of my guys call me Legend Wilkey, and then that's just where it goes from there.
Wow.
There's a lot that goes into that. Head coach Wilkey is fine. It's I don't even know what my name is anymore. So they just call me whatever, and I know it's to me.
The Wilkster. We'll call him the Wilkster.
I get that
There
one
you
a
go.
lot, too.
Yeah. So we've got some questions for you to get to know you and kind of get to know esports. So you are the coach of esports, and for those of you listening going, what in the world is esports?
Yeah, because
Think of Pac-Man on steroids. No,
Yeah,
no.
because some people have asked me. They said, "Is esports really a sport?" And and when I
Let's not get him riled up right at the beginning here.
But when I said someone had asked that, I think the coach got a little upset. But I want to hear about this. This is really exciting. How did you end up in this position?
Oh, man. So you guys are asking deep questions. You think it's simple, it's really not. Ever since I was a kid, I was the youngest of three brothers. I had an older sister as well, and we all played sports. We were all very athletic. The main thing that I can compete in my brothers with, because I was about the same size as them, even being the youngest one. I was a big boy. So I grew and was as tall and could do all the things, but I was never able to play in their league for things, and I just never had that opportunity. So video games was the great equalizer. And I realized that there was something that I can do with them that was fun, but then I realized that also I wasn't winning. And so I had this idea of, hey, if I got really good at this one thing, okay, if I got good enough to beat my household at video games, then I can just take that as the win and take it almost as like, hey, I'm worth something within this family for that specific reason for competition. We didn't play a whole lot of board games. For us, it was either sports or me and my two brothers playing video games. So I started to get really good. The only games I'm absolutely terrible at are actually like Madden, NBA, and FIFA, those sports games. New PGA game came out. I don't know how many times my controller's almost been in the wall. There's a lot of frustration with that. So, but growing up, that was my really my key attribute was being good at video games, and I couldn't find. It was a small town. I couldn't find really anyone better than me at what I played. And then I was supposed to come to SAGU. This is where it gets real deep and crazy. I was supposed to come to SAGU in 2015 or 2016 when I graduated high school. And I had a dream that God had sent me to go onto this train. And I went to go on the train, and I got distracted, and so I missed it. And again, in this dream, I was supposed to go on the train again. I got distracted again, and I missed it. And I caught back up both times. And well, on the third time, I was supposed to get on the train, and I was like, hey, I need to get on this thing. I know I need to. I got distracted again. I could never catch up to this train. And it was three separate times. So I was supposed to come to SAGU when I graduated in 2016. And actually, the old Vice President, Terry Phipps, told me eSports was supposed to start in 2016. He already had the idea then, which is crazy. I was supposed to come in spring of 2018. I didn't go. I got distracted by a girl the first time, and then we were married at that point, and I was like, well, I probably just want to establish my household where I am. And I already got an associate's degree, and I was like, this is pretty good. I'm not worried about anything else. Well, my wife had an affair with me, and it was crazy, long story with that too, but God redeemed me and stood me back on my feet and said, hey, listen, I was with you throughout this whole process, and I trusted him, and he made ways where there was no way to go. And I was like, what do you want me to do? And he's like, go to SAGU. I've told you 2 times already. This is the third and final time. And I remembered the dream, and I was like, oh my goodness. So I came here in spring of 21, and that's when the esports program started. While I was in the interim of being married and having to do things, I had my own ministry with gaming. We called it Wilderness Fellowship Gaming because we were in the middle of the desert. And so I was like, wilderness is a fitting title. We based the scripture off of where Jesus was when he was fasting for 40 days. So it all came, full circle from that. Well, I got to the school. They had a few undercover Smash tournaments because it was still COVID, and so we could never tell anyone, but we're telling you guys now. I definitely committed a crime by going to those things. And I was the best player here on campus. And so I was like, wow, this is crazy. I was really excited about it. And then they're like, hey, we're launching an esports team. And so I got a hold of the then head coach, now director, David Tips, and I said, hey, I have stat sheets from all the tournaments I hosted. Here's records of, I have like 6 different seasons worth of records for our guys. And I just, if you want any help with something like this, let me know. And he's like, do you want to be the assistant coach? That's how I got here. So that's the full circle, big story of how I was able to get here and do that.
Well, briefly, because I know you can take a long time on this, because it probably I don't mean that personally, but it deserves a lot of time to explain it. But what is esports for those who are not into video games? Just kind of give us an overview of esports.
Okay, esports is I would say like any other sport to a point. It's anything that is based in competition where you as an individual or a team compete against other teams within a league for, a prize or a trophy. And so esports for us at the collegiate level is based on what league we're in. We're in ECAC, and that's an Eastern Coast Conference. And so we compete with all the schools on the East Coast, and we compete in video games. So such as like Super Smash Brothers, where we have 3-on-3, or Rocket League, where it's like Hot Wheels and soccer at the same time. It's flying cars all around. You're trying to score into a net. It's anything that is a video game that you can make competitive and get people to play and people to watch and people to fund. It's like professional sports in that aspect. I
will say this, Carnell, have you been up to their studio? Those chairs, I need a chair like that for my office.
Well, I thought, back to fact, I think he was looking up there when he was looking for a new chair. And I think guilt got a hold of him.
So if one was missing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I was wondering if he was going to come back.
We'd be beating on your door.
Yes. Like, where's my chair?
Yeah, but that's some cool looking chairs.
But when you talk about sports, esports, right? I mean, I'm not going to age us, but we're older than all the people in this room. So, come on, let's be real, right? Atari. Boom.
Pac-Man for me.
Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Space Invaders.
Zach probably
I
doesn't
know
what that is.
I know what they are.
Yeah,
I'm there.
I mean, that was my game. Dropping I don't know how many quarters, on that. But whole different world, right? You had your guys that were really good and focused on that kind of stuff. But then you I think Legend of Zelda was the latest I got into, the first one, right? And then I realized, dude, I am spending too much time playing this game, so I kind of backed out, right?
Smart.
But you guys, now my kids, right? Most of my kids are older. My last one is graduating. But we actually enjoy playing Fortnite together. When my son's in Colorado, his girlfriend, we all get on and we all play at the same time together. It's a lot of fun.
Yep.
They're laughing at me because I still don't get the first-person shooter thing.
How to aim and move at the same time?
They say turn left. I turn my head left. It's like, I'm still not there, but we're working on that, right? But this is actually, I can see it. I really do. I see the fun. I see the camaraderie. I see the competitiveness, that comes with it. So I think it's a pretty cool little thing when I heard about it.
This may be a silly question, but I'm just curious. So you're in the East Coast League, correct?
Yeah, it's Eastern Collegiate Athletic Conference.
So who schedules? How do you? Is it the same as scheduling a baseball game? There's so many in that, and somebody sets all the games up.
So everyone has a schedule that's based, for us specifically, there's like a few specific games. Rocket League for their champion and above division. We have one team in there. Their schedule was built out for the whole 8 weeks that we have a season for. So they already know the teams they're playing. They know the days, the times. It's not a problem. Everyone else has a set time on a set day, which can be moved to be rescheduled because most everyone that plays in esports is either working another job, and so they have to play late at night, or they're on another sport, and so the sport can interfere with it. So for us, like Super Smash Brothers is every Monday night at 7 Central. Everything's based Eastern, so it's 8 Eastern.
Do you have to compete in the studio there, or can you do it in your room? Or
a lot of leagues would prefer if you compete in the studio. So
Okay.
I keep it for us that we keep every competition in our arena. That's where it is. That's where you do your work. That's where you go in and you're playing with your team, for your team, with your guys. If you're in there messing around, it's not profitable to
Sure.
us. It doesn't benefit anyone else. So we keep it a very serious atmosphere within that.
So when recruiting students, how does that work? I mean, hey, can you hit so many? I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure
You
how
can tell
ignorant I am.
yeah, I was
I
gonna
have
say,
no clue.
I'm waiting for you to. Yeah.
But I mean, what is it that you're looking for to say, hey, you might be 10 times better than this other person, and we only have room for one more person? How does that work?
There's a common denominator with every game that we have available to us. I think there's like 10 or 11. It's character. I will rather take a worse player that has better character and better work ethic and a more solid foundation with their relationship with Christ over anyone who's skilled any day, because that person will mold and fit within the team. The other person will stand out like a sore thumb, and they will not be productive. They will find ways to not be here, and they will not be competitive with us.
It's interesting. He doesn't realize that he just quoted Tom Landry.
Yeah.
And he probably doesn't know who Tom Landry is, but he used to be the coach of Dallas Cowboys. And he has a quote that's just so similar to that. He goes, so that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So there. I have a little bit more experience in this because I have younger kids.
I'm very happy for you.
Thank you. But getting online, right?
Yep.
And you have your, you can go online and get like with Fortnite. You go into, I forget what they call it now. So that's my
lobby.
ignorance. Yeah, the lobby. Thank you. And then you can choose up teams, right?
Yep.
And then you go out and you compete, and you come back in the lobby, and you can do another round, right? Okay.
Yep.
So is that how you recruit? You go into these lobbies and you find some good players, or
I've recruited from random Chick-fil-A trips.
Yeah.
The biggest way that we've done it, the school, when the program first started, they were like, hey, we only expect you to have 12 athletes. And I was like, well, I think that's a low number. I think we can get more than that. We ended up getting like 24, 28, around that number. We got them all just from the first 2 weeks of school and said, hey, we have an eSports team. Here are the games. Come show up and try out. And that's how it's had to be for the first year, because we couldn't go to any events. Who has done esports and where really has the church been accepting of that? That's the big problem. Well, not problem anymore. It's changed in the past 4 years. But for now, for the first year, it was kind of just like, hey, we have to pick who we got and move on from there. If anyone else comes into the school, we'll try to snack them up as soon as we can. But we didn't have a lot of information, processes set up of like, hey, I know this student's coming in this specific year. He's this game. He's this specific rank. I've already talked to him multiple times. We never had that. So what we had to do was build the program from the ground up in the sense of we need to figure out, how do we want to communicate with people? How do we want to find our surface area, or our canvassing area? What does that look like? And how are we going to convince them to come to college? That's probably the biggest question you ever have to ask. Most of the people going to college want to. You're not going to want to spend a lot of money, even if you get scholarships or just brilliant. Nobody wants to spend the money to do it. It's a sacrifice you have to be willing to make. So we have to figure that out. So for communication, we were like, hey, we got to make our Discord server a little bit larger. Discord is what we use. It's like gamers' version of Facebook, if that makes you guys feel any better.
Yes.
We had to make our Discord server larger. We had to make things happen with that, where we're no longer just, hey, this is just for our team. We had to adjust that and be like, we have to make this available to the public, so the public knows where we are. Well, who are we trying to convince to be here in the public? I'm not trying to invite you guys to my Discord server. You guys might freak out because it's wild. All right, there's so much. The reason
I feel judged. Right there.
It's
age discrimination.
I would sit there. I could teach you how to go on it for 2 hours, and it would still be confusing. I'm still where it's crazy. So
I can't spell toggle switch, so you don't.
so we had our Discord server, our Canvas network. Who do we want to find? Well, I started to host Super Smash Brothers tournaments at local churches in the Dallas area. That is what has brought us recruitment.
That's a good idea.
Going to camps and hosting it there and just being like, hey, this is who we are. This is what we do. If you guys have any talent or skill, come join our Discord server. We'll get you guys filled in that way. And right now, that's actually probably, from what I can find, the biggest collegiate Christian esports Discord server. There's lots of titles there, but it's the biggest one we have, and I think our team is also the biggest in that sense.
Cool. So you got students. So you currently have how many in the program?
35.
35 students. And if you want somebody to come in and play Donkey Kong or Galaga, let me know. I'm there for you. But just to let me know, I'm in the background, so I got your back on that. Okay. So let's talk about spiritual development. So you got a person in the program. You're talking about you want a Christian character. Is what you're looking for. How do you develop that? I know because man, most of the time, isn't it focused on, hey, we're here playing games, right? We're here getting our skills better, or what's it like? Tell me. You're shaking your head. So
probably about 80% of my job isn't to teach these people how to play games. These athletes already know. Mm-hmm. Chances are they know just as much, if not more than me. If they know less than me, then that's kind of a concern for me, because I'm like, hey, I know a pretty decent amount. I'm not a professional in all 10, 11 games that we have, but you have to know your basics and understand these concepts. So that's fine. The character development and the spiritual development is what I am mainly focused on for our team. And that comes in truth and grace.
Yeah.
That's it. It's hey, I know you did this in the match, okay, and we're sports minded. You can make observations, understand, hey, if you're turning this way, you're not going to cover as much of the land as you want to, and you'll leave yourself open. There's a lot of that, but when it comes to the spiritual development, it's, hey, I know you're playing off. We can tell how people play by the way they play. I can tell in Rocket League and Super Smash Brothers when someone is angry and they're playing angry. It's weird. We can't explain it. It's just it's a knowledge and game insight of like, this person is not happy for whatever reason. Okay, so I can tell with all of our guys how that works and how they are. But it's a constant me reaching out to our athletes and being like, hey, are you really doing okay? And not just a hey, how you doing? Good to see you. See you later. I sit them down and I'm like, listen, you need to tell me, because whatever just happened in there was not good. And so it's a lot of my interaction with our athletes and making sure that, hey, we're going into the Word, we're praying with each other. There's power in prayer. If we're reading the Bible, God's speaking to us, yes, but we need to communicate effectively and respond with that to Him. And so it's a lot of prayer over my guys in my own time, and then making sure that I'm right in the Word and that I'm setting the good example. And it's a lot of correction of even little things.
Awesome.
That's pretty cool.
That is very cool. Yeah.
After all this, Zach, don't worry about me ever replacing you as a coach, because it's not going to happen.
Oh, come on, Rick. Yeah, you can.
But I will say this.
You got to narrow it down to 2 buttons, a toggle switch and a jump button for him, and he's good.
But I will say this. I did help start eSports here.
Oh, yes.
1982.
1982?
Wow.
I was in student government, and me and a couple other guys convinced the administration to create a room to put video games in. Atari, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong.
I'm almost
so
surprised.
In reality, I helped start.
So somehow it always comes back to one of us, doesn't it?
I don't know why.
I don't know.
I'm just surprised that wasn't considered witchcraft back then. That's the real thing I'm worried about.
Put it this way, we had to do a lot of convincing.
Well, let me tell you, I do have a confession to make. I have to apologize to my son and to my kids and my youth groups in the past, where I have told them, put down the stinking video game controller. You'll never get into college playing video games.
Now it could happen.
Now I have to eat my words.
Hey, I got the same conversation from my parents.
Yeah.
And I was like, listen, this probably is going to be a thing, and I'll be an adult and I'll handle my own stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Well,
we appreciate you being with us tonight. Now, what I didn't tell you is we're going to have some eSports trivia.
Yeah.
Oh,
get
man.
ready.
We're going to try to embarrass you to see how smart you really are.
Okay.
So we're going to do that. But first, our producer, JB, is going to talk about our sponsor.
Thanks, Rick. VCR Now is so proud to promote their brand on this broadcast. Driven by producing quality LED video boards, state-of-the-art audio and video production systems at affordable prices, VCR Now makes sure to listen to your needs as an athletic department, business, or church before recommending the best next steps. Come by the campus and visit the Schaefer Activity Center and check out the double-sided LED scoreboard provided by VCR Now. For more information, visit vcrnow.com.
All right, Coach. Here we go. Are you ready for the trivia?
yeah, I'll try not to look at your
Drum
computer.
roll. All right. So we're going to ask you a few esports trivia questions. Some of them are not so easy, but you just may surprise yourself.
Well, we do give multiple choice.
I was going to say that I can help with that.
Multiple
That'd be
guess. Okay. Here we go. Question number 1. When was the earliest known video game competition to take place at Stanford University for the game Space War? So we're being more specific.
Okay.
It's at Stanford University for the game Space War. Was it 1972, 1975, or 1980? Space War at Stanford University.
It's 1975.
Good guess, but wrong.
Oh, dang. Okay.
1972.
Early.
It was early
Mhm.
back in the day. All right, number 2. That's okay. That's a warm-up question.
Okay.
Here we go. I'm going to serve this one up to you. What game championship in 1980 attracted more than 10,000
Participants?
Yeah, you can say that.
I got you.
You got my back. It's easy for you to say. All right. Asteroids, Pac-Man, Frogger, or Space Invaders?
Ooh.
So Asteroids, Pac-Man, Frogger, or Space Invaders?
I'm going Pac-Man first. Space Invaders is second.
Wow. No, it's Space Invaders. You should have known with your
Come
seconds.
on.
I was trying to help you out here.
I'm not looking.
You realize he wasn't even born during these times.
No.
I know.
So that's
This
this is the fun part.
This
see.
is the fun part.
He's really smart in the current stuff. We're
Yeah.
smart in history.
The
All right.
impact of Space Invaders on the video game industry has been compared to that of the Beatles in pop music industry. The Space Invaders Championship, held by Atari in 1980, was the earliest large-scale video game competition attracting more than 10,000 participants.
That's a bigger number than most today.
Isn't that
Really?
crazy?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I remember those days. Wow. Okay. Number 3. What was the first college to offer an eSports program? I want to give you 4 choices here. 3 choices.
Esports scholarships.
Yeah.
Scholarships. So Texas Wesleyan, Bellevue University, Robert Morris University, or Georgia Southern University. So Texas Wesleyan, Bellevue, Robert Morris University, or Georgia Southern.
We compete against Texas Wesleyan. I don't think that they're the one. What about Robert Morris?
Boom. Yes, very good. Very good job. 2014, Robert Morris University added esports to its athletic program and began recruiting students. I think League of Legends was the one that they did, offered qualified gamer scholarships up to 50% tuition and 50% room and board.
Wow.
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 50.
Yeah, why?
50-50. Yeah, in 2019, there was over 115 colleges and universities offering esports scholarships. So that's a big deal.
We are one of those, by the way.
Yep.
We are.
We are.
All right.
So
Rick?
how old? This is the final question. No, maybe not.
Maybe one more.
How old was the youngest gamer to earn $1 million in esports winnings? Was he or she 15, 14, 13, or 12?
13.
Yay! Thiogo, I think that's how you say his name. Thiogo Lap, a.k.a. King. Interesting. I love the names that these kids come up with. But he was 13 and 106 days old when he crossed over the $1 million mark at the first Fortnite World Cup in July of 2019. I mean, I just realized that kind of money.
I remember that happening.
Man,
I remember
crazy.
that was wild.
Yep. So I think we've got time for one more. What was the first country to recognize esports as a real sport? Was it China, Canada, France, or the United States?
Really? South Korea is not an option? Ooh. Okay, China, Canada.
France, or United States?
It's probably the United States. Major League Gaming came out, I think, in the late 90s.
James, was he right or wrong?
Wrong.
Oh.
It was
2003, China recognized esports as a real sport. Yeah, 2003.
Yeah.
So it is a real sport.
That's what they're saying. I mean, I'm just
Yes.
going by the what I read here.
I mean, I'm not going to agree with China on everything, but
You
it seems
bet.
like real
There we
sport to
go.
me.
Of course, this would be the first time and only time he agrees
Yeah.
with China.
Hey, awesome. Thank you, Coach, for being here. Thanks for joining us
So
today.
how many did he get right or
Absolutely.
wrong?
You get 2 out of 5, but if you count the Space Invaders one, it was his second choice.
Yeah,
I give
we'll
him 3
it
out of 5.
3 out of 5. We'll give it. to
3
him.
out of
You get no
5.
prizes, but you can tell all of your players that you know the history of esports.
Yes.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. D stands for diploma, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yes, it
Hey,
does.
I'll take it.
There you go.
All right. Faith in Sports is a broadcast property of SAGU. It's a Christian university located in Waxahachie, Texas, and has over 70 undergraduate and graduate degrees, including on-campus and online options. And we also have esports. Faith in Sports is sponsored by VCRNow.com. Visit sagu.edu for more information. And also stay up to date with all things SAGU athletics at sagulions.com.
See ya.